Welcome to another edition of the Dr. James Show. I am Dr. James Smith Jr., and we are ecstatic to have you with us today. Yes, I say it every time, and I mean it every time, and this episode will be no different. I can't wait to begin our conversation. Buckle up, get ready for another informational and transformational experience. But before we bring out our guest, James Develin Jr., let's take a look at the former N.F.L. New England Patriot superstar in action. Check this out.
These color dreams that we have will put everything in the backseat, drive past you. So good night. These dollar signs will be the death of all our dreams. You can't take all of my heart, but you can take your best shot. We are the unheard voice, a generation of what should be loud enough. So we are the unheard voice, a generation of what should be loud enough. And I know that our integrity is the greatest of the great. Say goodnight. The world is trying to silence all we say. You can't take all of my heart, but you can take your best shot. We are the unheard voice, a generation of what should be loud enough. And we are the unheard voice, a generation should be loud enough.
Woo, baby. That's a man's man. That's a man playing football. Please welcome to the Dr. James Show, James Develin Jr., 10-year NFL vet, 3-time Super Bowl champion with the Patriots, 2017 Pro Bowler, named to the Patriots 2010 All-Decade Team, now an entrepreneur, owner of Soulberry's Coffee and Smoothies in Brigantine, New Jersey, and member of the 76 Capital Athletic Venture Group. Welcome to the show. Big guy. Don't hurt me, James Develin.
Thanks for having me, Dr. James. I appreciate it.
Oh, man. Wow. I can't wait to unpack all these things you've done. But, I played football in college with your dad, and I played corner. And if I ever saw a big fullback like you coming around, I'm running into the stands, man.
I know. Well, you just got to hope that they don't call too much, cover two, or you gotta be the force out there on the edge. But we would have had some good times. I know you had good times with my dad, and
Yes.
so really, I appreciate that introduction. And man, watching those clips, almost brings a tear to my eye.
Well, you have 3 Super Bowl rings. Me and your dad have 1. And it's not as big as yours, but we have won 1981 national championship. And you probably weren't even a twinkle in his eye at that point.
No. Yeah, I was born in '88, but I heard plenty of the stories of your guys' national championship, the Alonzo Stagg Bowl. So I heard it all. And, that's really where I got my start in the game of football, was just kind of, vicariously living through my dad and growing up a huge Eagles fan in a really, really great era of Eagles football. And my dad just kind of constantly, kept me into the game. And, I started off playing soccer, baseball, but I wasn't really into it. And then, football just kind of took off. And I really thank my dad for kind of instilling that in me at a young age. I started playing when I was 7. So it's 25, 26 years of playing the game.
What some people don't realize is that you played the same position that your dad did for a while, D-line, and then you switched to fullback. What played a role in you changing to the other side of the ball?
Oh man, so that's a long story. Coming out, I went to Brown University. I played linebacker and a little bit of tight end when I was in high school. But I love the defense side of the ball, love that mentality. And so then going up to college, I thought I was going to play linebacker. First day of training camp as a freshman, the D-line coach calls my name, checking for roll call. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm a D lineman. I guess I'm a D lineman now. So ended up, kind of learning how to play D end, and I had a great time, playing on the edge there. And and then after college, I wanted to play in the NFL. I didn't know how, the prospects weren't looking good. Like, I was a pretty decent Ivy League player. I had good statistics, but I was like a little too small to play D-line and at the next level, a little too slow to play linebacker. But one thing I could always do was hit. And so I got up with with an agent. And that was a whole nother story. I didn't have any agents calling me. It was
Right.
I was a pretty unheralded player. And then I grew up next to four boys, and their mother's cousin is now my agent. So it was just they were at a family party. He was going up to Boston to scout my teammate, and he mentioned it. I'm going up to Boston, the Brown Harvard game. She goes, oh, well, my neighbor plays for Brown. Check him out, number 44. I had a great game, had a sack, 3 TFLs, a couple things. Right. And then he called me, and he's been my agent. He took a chance on me because no one really thought that I was going to do anything. And he kindled that flame of becoming a fullback. He said, this kind of fits your body type. You can catch, you can do some things. He sent me for a workout with Jim Garrett Sr. Up in the Jersey Shore, up the North Jersey Shore. Did a workout in his backyard for him, and he gave me the okay. He said, you know what, I think you have what it takes to play, on the offensive side of the ball, either tight end or fullback at the next level. And then from there, I just kind of just kept trying to get my foot in the door places. And I played arena a little bit, but I was a defensive end there. And then I ended up getting a chance to play in the UFL for the Florida Tuskers. And my agent got me a tryout there, and he just said, hey, you're trying out as a fullback. Just, don't bring up that you never played the position. And so I went down there, tried out, they signed me. And then a couple months later, it came out I'd never played fullback in my life. So, but it was a great learning experience in that time. I mean, Jay Gruden was my head coach. I was blocking for big time NFL backs, and Dominique Rhodes, who won a Super Bowl with the Colts, Maurice Hicks, Avion Kason from the Cowboys. We had a pretty good squad, and that was a really good foundation for me to learn how to play a different position at that level. And then I, spent 2.5 years on practice squads in the NFL, and it all just, I had to cut my teeth. And then finally, 8 years as a starting fullback in the NFL, it all kind of paid off.
What a character building journey. The epitome of, if you put your mind to it and you have the resourcefulness and the patience, it's going to work out. You mentioned that Jay Gruden was one of your position coaches. When your father and I won the national championship against the University of Dayton, John Gruden was on that team as a backup quarterback.
Oh, yeah?
Wow. Okay. I'm not sure if we shared that with you. Since we're talking about the NFL, what did you learn from that experience, either the journey getting there or actually playing at the highest level with the best athletes, overtime wins, comeback wins, Super Bowl trophies? What did you learn from that experience, and how is that helping you now in your new entrepreneurial life?
Sure. Yeah. So what did I learn from my experience? I mean, we could be here all day really kind of talking about it. I honestly, I listen to a lot of books on tape, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, and, a lot of self-help ones, motivational ones. And really, it always kind of comes back around to things I learned either in my journey to the NFL or from Bill Belichick or whatever.
Oh, we're going to talk about Bill.
Yeah,
we're
I
going to
know.
talk about
I
Bill.
know. He's got a lot of content for sure. But yeah, so I'd say the one biggest thing that I took away from the whole experience of playing in the NFL was a lot of times we put these like dream jobs and dream positions on such a pedestal. And we grow up and we idolize, NFL players or idolize baseball players or idolize doctors, lawyers, and we start to put them on such a high pedestal that you're like, that's unattainable for me. That's beyond my ability. But then, if you have the gusto, if you have like the imagination and the heart to chase those dreams and to just say, no matter what, I'm going to get there, I'm going to be that, it really, once you're there, you realize that all these people that I grew up like idolizing, like, oh my God, I could never play at that level. They're just everyday human beings as well. They put their pants on the same way I do, but you have to believe in yourself enough to put yourself out there and kind of, take a chance, and once you're there, you realize like, hey, these guys are just normal people. I can compete with them, but it's all such a mental game because, when you're 7 years old and you're watching the Super Bowl on Super Bowl Sunday, it seems like such a far away dream, like it could never happen. But then, fast forward, 20 some years, and now I'm playing on Super Bowl Sunday. And it's just, all it took was, some taking a chance on myself and believing in myself and some things. But I mean, anybody can really do anything out there. And I think that's the one thing that I took away from my journey. And I try to pass that on to my kids and then pass that on to, kids in the game of football that I come in contact with. And I'm putting on a camp at my hometown for the first time since I've been playing. I've always wanted to, but now finally I have the time. And after COVID, I feel like it's a good time to, take advantage of this role I have and try to give back to the game and especially the community that raised me. So I'm going to try to preach that, like, hey, if you have a dream, whether it's football or whether it's something academically or something, whatever you want to do in life, just believe in yourself and take the chance. And if it doesn't work out, then, hey, you can always do what you were going to do in the first place. So, I think that's probably the biggest thing.
And how is that going to ignite your entrepreneurial career?
Yeah. So
what are you taking away from that experience now?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of lessons that I've converted from the game. Believing in myself was one of them. And even that, because I played football for so long, it became such like it was like my second language. I just knew everything about the game. And so taking those chances and saying, I'm going to try to play at the professional level, it was something I was so familiar with. It was just like kind of taking that step up and learning and being comfortable in like the heat and the speed of the game. So now here I'm getting into business and I don't know the first thing about business. I studied engineering.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Didn't play fullback.
Yeah. I studied engineering in college and I knew that when I retired from football, I didn't want to go and work for anybody else. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, be a business owner, and kind of like create my own path and be able to be present at home with my kids and kind of just, wear the hats in my life and make my decisions for myself. And so, again, I had to kind of take a chance. I had to believe in myself, like, hey, I've never owned a business before, but I will learn and I'll put in the work just like I did in the game of football. And I have to, go through like that training camp period where you're like going through the ringer and it's
2 a days,
2 a days, where you're like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this. I'm so tired of putting on sweaty pants and all that stuff. I was all beat up and I'm kind of in that in that position right now where I gotta kind of put my head down and work, cut my teeth. And then eventually I know that I'll be in a position where I'm super comfortable as a business owner. And then I can kind of keep taking the notches up the ladder and in business and entrepreneurship. So I think just, that belief in myself and the ability to take a chance and kind of, I bought Soulberry from another person. So, it was an existing business. So I had to take a little bit of a financial risk, but I think, in the long run, buying a cash flow like that, it will eventually be a good thing. And so, I mean, I'd say just believing in myself and taking chances, man. That's how I'm translating from the game. And then also another thing I didn't even touch on was just the lessons I learned about teamwork and building a team in football, and especially the NFL, and especially under the best coach to ever do it, Bill Belichick. Now I'm kind of like the head coach of Soulberry. I'm starting to build my staff, and I want to create a great, team culture where we're all working for each other and no one feels like they're above anyone else. And so I'm very cognizant of trying to recreate that and have leaders in good positions that can lead from the front and be, kind of one of the workers in there, sweating it out, but also have that ability to delegate and lead. And so I want to be the same thing. Before I bought the business, I went in, I was making smoothies. I was blending, I was washing dishes, I was doing all this stuff. And so I want to be one of those leaders. I want to be like someone that they can come to. And, I don't want to just, drop in and be the owner that no one knows. I want to, have a good relationship with my team.
Well, here's a plug for you. Where can we go to get those smoothies?
Well, right now, just Brigantine, New Jersey.
Okay.
We're at 1106 West Brigantine Ave in Brigantine, New Jersey. But I am hoping to expand upon, beyond just one location. That's the potential that I kind of saw as an entrepreneur to take this, off our island and bring it, along the Jersey Shore. I think the concept, can be recreated.
I love it.
And then we'll see where it goes from there. Maybe, get one closer to Philly and
absolutely,
and then, we'll see,
Well, maybe. You played football. I played football. You could tackle, I could tackle, you could hit, I could hit. If you need a spokesperson for the smoothies, I'm your guy.
All right.
But on a serious note, hearing you talk, I think there's another career out there. I'm a speaker, and my job is to be a game changer, difference maker, inspire, motivate people to do better. There's a speaker in you.
Well, thank you, man. That means a lot, man. Because I
need to talk because with your brand, with your experience, with your Super Bowl cachet, you are going to immediately go to the front of the line because people want to hear your story. What was it like playing for Belichick? What was it like playing with Brady? What was it like when you were down 28-3 to Atlanta? They want to hear that, and you'll be surprised at how generous people are when they feel as though they're talking to someone who's authentic and well-intentioned. So let's talk about that, okay?
Sure, yeah, man. Well, I appreciate that because that means I've come a long way. When I, through college and high school, I was so math and science heavy that I never really had the time to bring really the English language up to speed. And so I never really felt comfortable speaking, and then I guess through being on that platform of the N.F.L. and, handling myself in interviews, and especially up in New England where you can't really say much. So you have to be able to toe that line. I appreciate
that was the secret, huh? Don't say much. I was wondering why no one ever said anything. And even Randy Moss was quiet when he went up there.
Yeah. I mean, they know how to give you just enough to make it entertaining, but not giving up too much information or giving really the other team any bulletin board material that they can post the week of the game and say, these guys aren't thinking anything of us. Let's go out and do something to them. So
I'm gonna go to the chat room. There's a question there. It says,
sure.
what were your pressures and how would you advise players entering the NFL on how to address the pressures of being a professional football player? So what were your pressures and what advice would you give to college players who are now moving it into their pro career?
Sure. Okay. So yeah, I mean, pressures, I felt a ton of pressure when I was, first kind of getting my foot in the door in the league, because you're just never certain about anything, and there's absolutely no job security. I mean, that was one thing that I had to kind of learn to deal with and to really try to get myself into a position where I could put that out of my mind and say, you know what, I'm just going to control what I can control. And that's my performance on the field. I'm not going to try to play the numbers game. Am I going to make the 53? Are they going to keep a fullback? Are they going to keep two? Like you drive yourself nuts trying to play that game and trying to predict. And you really never as a player have control of that. So you just have to control what you can control. And that's a lesson Bill always preaches and through training camp is just go out there and do what you do as a player, and we'll make the decisions on the roster. And that's that. You just try to be the best you can be day in and day out, learn from your mistakes. Don't make the same mistake twice, and then just go out there and do your thing. And so that is something that I would preach to the next generation, college kids, high school kids, is when you take those notches up and you start to feel that, like I'm uncertain whether I'm going to make this team or uncertain whether I'm going to play, you can't really play that game in your mind. You got to focus on your job, and your job is to just be the best player you can be, train as well as you can, eat as well as you can, sleep as well as you can, all that kind of stuff, play as well as you can, understand the playbook, and the rest will kind of take care of itself.
Love it. I love it. Good stuff.
Okay.
What we're going to do is show some clips of your evolution into the NFL.
Okay.
And we're going to show them in 3 clips, and after each one, have you speak to it just a little bit.
Okay.
It starts from the beginning
Mm-hmm.
of your career and to the time where it was time for you to lace them up for the Patriots. So let's take a look at part 1.
Sure.
I studied mechanical engineering at Brown University. It was something that I'm very proud of, to be able to earn a degree from Brown, all while playing football. Graduated, and at that point I had no other football options, so I had to put on my big boy pants and get myself a job.
What were you thinking at that time when you said, I want to do this, I have this degree, this mechanical engineering degree from Brown, but I'm not ready to utilize that yet?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What was going through your mind? As you said, you put your big boy pants on.
Yeah, so that was kind of a I don't want to say a dark period of my life, but I felt like I was the only one keeping my fire alive, and so it was just a lot of having that conversation, the tough conversation with people. Like, I just graduated. My parents spent a ton of money getting me through Brown. I had a bunch of loans. And all of a sudden now, like, I'm taking no steps to utilize this degree I just worked so hard for, because I want to chase this dream. And everyone's like, I don't know how this dream's going to play out, Jim. Like, you might want to just do the safe thing and go and get yourself a job, utilize this degree that you just worked 4 years for. And I understand their position. They want to do what's best for me. They want to, like, kind of keep me safe and coddle me a little bit and say, just do the safe thing, go and get yourself a job. But there was something in me that said, if I don't do this right now, I'm always going to look back and regret it. I'm always going to say, like, what if I just took that chance? So I gave myself, the leash to kind of, like, go and do some things that were a little bit unorthodox. And so, I'm living at home after just graduating, and I remember being on our family computer, and I got a Facebook message from I guess he was like the GM, if you want to call it that, of the Oklahoma City Yard Dogs in the AFL. They were an AFL 2
Oklahoma City Yard Dogs. What?
With a Z, with a Z at the end. That's how legit they were. So I got a Facebook message from this guy, Ian Harris, from the Oklahoma City Yard Dogs. He invited me out. I had to pay for my flight. I went down there, worked out at a indoor soccer facility where, like, little kids play indoor soccer. They liked what they saw, and they ended up signing me, and I lived down in Oklahoma City for 5 weeks. I was essentially playing football for $200 a week, and they would pay me food tickets to like area restaurants.
Wow.
So that we could eat. So it was, and I always joke, when we lost, we got when we won, we got like some good meal tickets, But when we lost, we just got a stack of Taco Bell free meals for the whole week. We'd be eating Taco Bell. So, that was, but I knew I had to do it. I was a young guy. I didn't really have any other responsibilities. I was 21, 22 or something. And so I just said, you know what, let me just kind of go out there, be this nomad trying to chase a football dream and see where it takes me. And then, and then I ended up going, playing in the UFL. And so that was another unorthodox thing. That league ended up, like I said before, it was really kind of instrumental to me to change the position and play with some guys and kind of believe in myself, because I'm playing next to these guys and against these guys that played, long careers in the NFL. And I could say, like, hey, I can play with these guys. I must be ready to take the next step. And it was also a great level of exposure for me, because, I got a lot of film. I played in, I think there was 5 teams. So I played 8 regular season games, and then we made it to the championship game, but we lost. So I played 9 games. I had footage of myself playing fullback, and that was very, very key to kind of getting some credibility, especially in NFL locker rooms, saying that, I play with these guys or against these guys, and, what do you think? And then, a couple teams took a chance on me, and the Bengals ended up giving me my first opportunity. And and that was really, really crucial for me to kind of do that. And so, it was all.
I love that you took risks and that you take risks. Again, we have that in common. My last corporate job, I was a vice president. And I remember telling my mom I was starting my own business. She's like, no, you're vice president. You have an office in downtown Center City. You overlook City Hall. Don't do it. I'm like, Mom, I want to start my own. Let's show you the second clip. Let's show you the second clip of this evolution. After the second and third clip, we're going to get into B squared, Brady and Belichick, and what was that like playing with both. So let's take a look.
So I started off in Oklahoma City, played defensive end, and then from there I went to the United Football League and played for the Florida Tuskers.
Bryson with some backside pressure, throws wide open, it's complete, James Develin.
That's where I changed my position to fullback. It wasn't until like 2 or 3 weeks into the season where they're like, so you never played fullback before, huh? I was like, yeah, and I guess I tricked you.
You tricked them. Quick question for you. People watching at home and people in the stands, they can't really hear what goes on in the field. Is there trash talking on the field?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I never really partook in trash talking myself. But yeah, I heard all kinds of stuff. And then I played with a bunch of guys that were like, king trash talkers. And, some people just joke. Some people do it to get themselves psyched up. Some people are trying to get in other people's heads. I mean, it's, like any kind of competition, it brings out, it's such a high level of each individual, and then they kind of become their own out on the field. And it's really an interesting thing. I mean, I always used to say, like, my real self was out there on the field, like and I know this feeling when you get that first hit of a game and you feel that like electricity goes all the way in you. Oh my God. I mean, is that not one of the most
Yes.
unique
Yes.
feelings like ever. Like it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. I mean, like that is like living at its finest. And that's what I think, football is kind of under attack a little bit with all these injuries and that concussion stuff and all that. And I know we need to keep the game safer, and we need to keep kids that are playing it safe. But man, is football not just living at its finest, man? You're making split-second decisions, and you're so in the moment in the game of football that it's like pure bliss out there. Like you have nothing else on your mind but playing the game, and you're making all these decisions, and it's fast paced. It's such a beautiful thing. I think it's so much to be learned from the game of football. And I was just blessed to play it for a long time and do some things and have a lot of fun with it and experience some really cool things. And so, I'm very, very blessed for my journey.
It was a beautiful thing. I remember as a corner, first play the game, I would go right up and play press coverage on the receiver. And I was like, I'm going to be in your butt all game. I'm going to be your shadow. Is your mom here? I was crazy. And then after the game, go shake their hand and say, see you next season.
Yeah, that's that alter ego I'm talking about.
Yes.
You gotta like become something else to put yourself through that. But it's beautiful, man. I hear you on that. That's awesome.
I'm 61. I'm thinking about going back out there. Eagles could use a corner. I'll get out there and bend over for one play.
Hey, all you need is one.
That's one. Let's look at the third clip real quick. Look at the third one, and then we'll talk about your Super Bowl games and playing with B Squared. So let's take a look at the final clip.
I took the chances. I knew what I was getting myself into, and if it took me a couple of years doing, some things that were, less beautiful than the NFL, then that's what it took.
James Develin's determination paid off. He spent a season and a half on Cincinnati's practice squad as a fullback before being released in 2012 at the close of training camp. The next day, he signed with the New England Patriots.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go up there and play, and all the hard work kind of showed in that one play in Houston.
Hand off to the fullback, deep by Devlin, bounces off the pile, trying to find his way in on the left side, still trying, touchdown, Patriots!
That was kind of a reflection of trying to get into the NFL, and just getting bounced around and people trying to stop me here and there, and then, finally just getting in.
As the Patriots began building their 2014 roster, Devlin was preparing for his third year with the team.
So tell us, Jim, especially here in Philly, there's a whole lot of conspiracy theories about the Patriots and Belichick and Deflategate and the stealing, the video gate or whatever. What was, I think the other time was the Steelers were playing you guys in the night before the game. It was a fire alarm and the Steelers had to leave the hotel. I mean, there are so many things about Bill Belichick. What was it like playing for arguably the best coach in NFL history and then playing with arguably the best quarterback in NFL history? Talk to us, fill us in.
Yeah. All right. So first thing I'll address those conspiracies is there is really no merit to them. I'm going to say that it's just human nature to kind of hate winners, like the same way everyone
Spygate.
The same way that everyone hates the Yankees and hates, the Celtics and the Lakers. Like, I mean, if you're not with them, you're fully against them. And so, I mean, believe me, I grew up hating the Patriots when they beat the Eagles in 2004. I was like, man, Tom Brady, like he's a crybaby.
Yes.
They're taking all these, Bill Belichick understands the rule books of football better than anybody I've ever met. And so he knows certain things that he can get away with. And we just take advantage of those things. He does his homework. I mean, when we were playing the Ravens in the AFC Championship that one year, and we started doing that thing where we're putting offensive linemen out there, but they're on the ball, so they're technically covered up, and we're making guys eligible, and no one knows they're out there like, oh my God, what's going on? Now people do that all the time.
Yes.
But that was like the first exposure to it. And I remember the Ravens were like completely like just out of their minds. They had no idea what was going on. And so that was just another show of Bill Belichick just understanding things and kind of taking advantage where he can. But I will say playing with Tom and playing under Bill, the one thing that I took away from both of them that will stay with me forever is that the level in which they are in their respective positions, either as a quarterback or a head coach, they have absolutely zero ego to them. Wow. And I know that kind of, it's almost like tough to understand because Bill Belichick, like you said, arguably the best head coach to ever do it. But if you go up to him and he's very approachable, he's always willing to talk, always willing. Yeah, really.
He looks like he always just left the root canal.
I know, but that's his whole thing is, he's just always willing to learn, and he's a historian that like he studied history in college. He understands so much of the past, of the game of football, and he's always looking for, where is football going? Where is our team going? How are we going to stack up against these opponents? And so I think that lack of ego and that always willing to learn from the past and kind of use it into the future, that always stood out to me as just like, wow, this guy really can put like all his success, like, in the past and just stay focused on the future and just try to keep learning and keep, getting better and being a better head coach. And then the same goes with Tom. I mean,
hold on. Before you go to Tom,
yeah, go ahead.
A little bit more about Bill. Watching a press conference that he leads, it's hard. He gives you nothing. He repeats the same. He looks like he had the bitter beer face. Is that an act? Does he do that on purpose?
No, I mean it's a little bit of both. I mean that is kind of Bill, but he definitely puts on like he exaggerates that persona. Because like I said, in meetings or especially when you're like talking one-on-one with him, he's very engaging, very smart, and very personable, really. Like he's, I had many conversations where he's talking to me about my kids, we're talking about, I'm wearing a, Brigantine, New Jersey shirt like I am now. And he says, oh, what's Brigantine all about? He's got, he knows everybody everywhere because of the connection that football brings. It's like such a community, right? So he's obviously good friends with Charlie Weiss, and Charlie Weiss is an Ocean City guy. So, there's a lot of coaches actually that came out of Ocean City. So, he's got connections down here and all that stuff. We're just talking, and it's just very easy to talk to him, and he's personable. And
let me share this paragraph with you. This is what your former coach had to say about you. To some people, James Develin may be unsung in terms of publicity and fame, but to his coaches and teammates, he's one of the most appreciated and respected players we ever have had. In football, there are a lot of tough, unselfish, and dependable people who bring positive leadership on a daily basis, but the name James Develin represents those qualities at an elite level, a tribute to the impact James had on our success. Of the 5 seasons in which he played in every game, we won 3 championships. Any team would be fortunate to have a James Develin type on its roster, but the reality is he is a rarity, and we are very fortunate he was a Patriot. Bill Belichick. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Are you having a tissue issue? Are you serious?
No. I mean, hey, any kind of memories like that bring back some emotions, man. But it's such an honor to have played for a guy like that, and then to hear those kinds of words spoken, when your career is over, is really all. That's such a motivating factor, is trying to play and make the guys you're playing for are proud, you know, like, I mean, I remember saying that when I was a 7-year-old kid, I wanted to make my dad proud. I wanted to go out there and, you know, prove myself for him and kind of carry on the legacy that he left to me. And then same thing with my coaches, man, because they're essentially like fathers on the field. And so to hear him like kind of have that level of respect and say those things about me, man, that's why you play the game, for your brothers, you know, and for your coaches that are kind of like your fathers. And it's a beautiful thing, man.
Well, speaking of your brothers, one of your brothers was number 12.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who I wanted to see go down every time he played the Eagles, but he kept getting up. And
Yeah,
it seemed like the game was never over with you guys. You could be down 28-3. You can be down 30 points. You could be down against the Raiders in the championship game where they instituted the tuck rule.
yeah.
Brady kept getting up, and I believe he has, is it seven?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that, playing with number 12.
Oh man, unbelievable. From the first time I walked into that building in New England, to really when I left, I mean, the guy was as perfect a teammate as you could possibly get. And that like, I mean, bringing the aura around Tom Brady and everything that he's got going on, and his supermodel wife, and you know, like none of that even is like reflected upon the person that he is, really on an everyday basis. And that's the thing that is so remarkable. It's still so remarkable to me. When I say Bill was approachable, I mean, Tom, I mean, my locker was like on one side of the locker room, and then like that mirror was Tom. And so it was just every day, just like kind of being one of the guys, and like having, like I said, no ego, always just trying to be a better player, a better teammate, a better leader, and always trying to do those things. And I mean, and he's got his whole method, TB12 method now, and people are buying into it. And it's such a remarkable thing what he's done over the last 23 years of playing the game of football, and, you know, doing it at his age. And I mean, the guy is everything that everyone should look up to, honestly. And that's, you know, I agree with you, man. I was a big time Eagles fan. I thought Tom was a crybaby. Thought he yelled too much at his teammates.
He didn't shake Nick Foles' hand after the Super Bowl.
No, he shook his hand in the tunnel, man. It's just that I know people always bring that up, especially here in Philly. But you know, it's an emotional thing when you lose the Super Bowl and you see the confetti fall and it's the opponent's colors.
I think we have some footage, some video footage of you and a couple little Patriots after a Super Bowl victory.
Oh yeah, sure.
Let's take a look and watch this. What a feeling! What a feeling!
Yeah, that'll bring a tear to my eye right there, man.
Wow,
that's what it's all about.
Imagine when they're your age and they go back and watch that footage.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about this shot.
I know. I mean, that's what it's all about. I am like tearing up, man, because that's the whole reason. Like, that's why I played the game, why I put my body through the things I did. And right there, I mean, and my wife had just given birth like 2-3 weeks before that to my daughter, who's now 3. But yeah, my wife, man.
You talk glowingly about your wife. Something you said you outkicked your coverage. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and it's funny. I did all this stuff. I went down to Oklahoma City. I lived down in Florida for a long time. I was up in Providence at Brown. I grew up with my wife, and we've known each other since I was 9 years old. You know, we were such close friends all through high school. We never dated, but she was like, I put her on a pedestal when I was in high school. She was such a good girl, smart, intelligent, beautiful. And then she went to Temple. She cheered for the 76ers. Yep. She cheered for the 76ers for a little while, and then we ended up just kind of reconnecting on a chance type of thing. And man, now we have this beautiful family together. We have 4 kids, 6, 5, 3, and 9 months old. And and then then the game of football was really just, it was all about them, all about providing for them, and making them proud, and that was kind of how my evolution as a man through the game of football. And then when I got to the end of my career, it was really, I was putting them at a higher priority than me playing the game of football, doing some prideful tasks. So, I mean, it was, I owe everything to them, and especially my wife, man. She is an absolute rock star.
J&J. She's a rock star too. You mentioned your dad quite a lot. We have some pictures, some family shots of you, dad, and mom at a game or just doing what you do. Let's take a look at those shots.
Okay.
I see that you and Mr. Kraft and the trophy, you and dad. Wow, look at Studley City. And then you, your mom, your dad, and the missus.
Yeah.
When you see those pictures, what comes to mind?
Well, that was our first one down in Arizona when we beat the Seahawks the last second. And that was an incredible experience, man, because I was so lucky to have played in 4 Super Bowls, but that first one is so iconic to me because I had nothing to measure it against. And so everything was just so fantastic and so great. I mean, to sit there and think that like one day I'd be kissing the Lombardi trophy arm in arm with the owner of the Patriots, like that is just insane. And then, the level of pride that it brought. I mean, I remember going down after we won the Super Bowl and finding Jenny and my parents, and we're all crying. It's the most like special thing that can happen in the game of football. And man, it's like that is just, it was such a remarkable experience to be able to share with the people that I love the most, and and really the reason I played the game, from the infant stages of being a 7-year-old playing in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, to having a wife and providing for her with the New England Patriots. I mean, it was just a full lifetime in the game of football. And so I mean, that's why I played. So that's right there is a reflection of the whole, everything just being worth it, man.
We're home watching on TV or watching in the stands, but what does it feel like to be on the field playing in a Super Bowl game? I mean, from pregame warm-ups to all that week before, the videos, the press conferences. The game doesn't start until 6:30 in the evening. They announced the starters. I'm getting chills just thinking about being on the field. You were there 4 times, 3 innings. What is that like to be on the field?
Man, what an experience, man. The whole 2 weeks leading up to it is just such a whirlwind. There's so much pageantry. There's so much media coverage. There's so much everything. And then being on the field, finally, you're like done all that stuff. You're done all the interviews and the video things and the practices and traveling and trying to meet up with your family when you can in between practice and all this stuff. It's just craziness. But then finally you're in the locker room, you're all suited up, you walk out the tunnel. And I always, the run out of the tunnel was always like such an incredible thing. Like that feeling never left me through my 8 years with the Patriots. Like running out that tunnel as like a game day 46-man roster guy. I mean, that was just such an incredible thing. And then being able to do it at the Super Bowl, and kind of thinking and saying, realizing that hey, this is something, everyone's at home watching this thing, and this is a culmination of so much effort and work from 20 some years of playing the game of football to finally coming and finishing today. It's just it's such a crazy feeling, man. And you know, but then all that stuff kind of goes away once the ball's kicked off, because you got to like recenter yourself and say, you know, at the end of the day, this is just another football game. And I just got to do what I've always done.
Do my job, go lay somebody out.
Yeah, you know it. You know it. So
I'm going to get one more question in the chat room. It says, we've heard pro football players having panic attacks and throwing up in the locker room before games. What's your thought on addressing the mental wellness aspect as a player?
Ooh, so that is very important, and you're seeing that, you know, really bring to light recently. I mean, I never really had any issues with anything like that, and so I can't speak from experience, but I know several teammates that have dealt with things like that, and you know, there's the whole thing with like concussions and brain injuries, and then also how that leads into mental health. And I think it's super important. And I think we all have to kind of just we have to embrace it a little bit more. And we have to just.
So if you embrace it, would you let your children play football?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, I mean, from what I've said in the past hour, I think you can probably guess that I'd let my kids play. And then again, I have several teammates and guys that I play with that are adamant, you know, they're not going to let their kids play, but it's all just, you know, I'm going to let my kids do what they want to do. If they don't want to play football, then I'm not going to pressure them. If they do want to play football, then I'll fully support that. You know, but I think, like I said before, man, there's so much to be learned from playing this sport. And I think that overweighs the potential for injury, you know. And
I agree.
Yeah, especially at young ages when you're not even really strong enough to do a ton of damage, and to learn the game the right way then before you're even able to hurt each other. I think that's super important, and that could then, you know, help you be safer and be healthier, you know, longer into your football career.
Has played a key role in my life with regard to resilience and bouncing back. So I know what you're saying here. Time is getting away, but before we let you go, you did walk-on arena football. You played college football, Patriots, Cincinnati, Super Bowl. Now you ran a marathon? Let's take a look at this video. You ran a marathon. Oh, my.
We got some big-time people at the finish line. Eric is there, standing with former Patriot running back James Develin. He made it.
He made it. He made it. Yes, James Develin, Super Bowl champion with us here. So running the Boston Marathon today. I know you're running for the Joe Andruzzi Foundation. Huge day. You look good, man.
Oh, thank you, man. It was a surreal experience. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect. This was my first experience at the marathon, and it was absolutely awesome from mile 1 to 26.2. It was a great time.
What?
Yeah.
The Super Bowl wasn't enough. You got to go 26.2 miles. Never having run before, other than at camp and to stay healthy. What's next, man? What's next?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. You know, I got a business here to learn and take that where I can go. But that marathon experience, that was truly remarkable. I mean, from training, which I thought was one of the most interesting things. I had so much time out on the road to just think and to like refocus and shuffle all my thoughts and listen to things and reflect. And I mean, that was beautiful. And then the actual running of the race through like my second hometown, you know, where, you know, I made myself, you know, a professional athlete, and being able to do that at that point in my career. And it was just really a special experience, you know, and so I'm very glad that I did that. I don't know if I'll do it again, but
Jim, what's harder, football or the marathon?
Oh, football.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the end of the day, see, this is what I took away from that whole thing was, once you get to a point while you're running, it just really then becomes like more mental than physical, you know? And so the mental part is tough. Like when you're like really hurting, your knees are aching and you're screaming, you know, you gotta really like block that stuff out. But I think football in the long run is so much more physical and mental. Other than, when you're running, it's just like you just got to put another foot in front of the other and then just keep it up, for 26.2.
Wow. Who hit you the hardest?
Oof.
What
I'd say
linebacker, what defensive end, what cornerback?
Well, Ndamukong Suh got me real good that first one. I know, and see, that was I have an excuse, but I'll hold it back because I know what excuses are like. No, I mean, he hit me hard, but I was also like kind of out of it from the opening kickoff a little bit. And then I would say the guy that I like really always, I wouldn't say struggle with, but we just had some like hellacious hits over the years, was my own teammate, Elandon Roberts. Yeah, so we just through practicing and training camp, I mean, he was like a sawed off 5'11", 245 pounds, had that natural leverage, and he had no regard for like the health of anyone. So it was just like, and everyone knew first day of pads, first day we're doing inside run, we called it 9-on-7. Everyone knew it was just like, 34 lead, me and the middle linebacker for years, 8 years of that. Just like everyone knew, right? So he'd be all keyed up, I'd be all keyed up. And that first hit of training camp was just like something like you just gotta like buckle, like nail yourself down to the ground because it's about to get crazy. And so he and I had some absolutely like ridiculous hits over the years.
Jim, you took me back to when I was at Widener freshman year. We were doing the tackle drills, and the guy who I had to go up against was our leading rusher. I mean, he was averaging 200 yards in a half. And I'm a freshman. I have to go up against him. Guess who decided to tie his cleat?
Oh, yeah?
I bent over, tied my cleat. Someone went in front of me, got trucked. But then I went up against the next guy and laid him out. So I know what that's pretty much like.
Yeah.
Listen, I have more than enjoyed you on the show. You're amazing. From Belichick's words to the optics to family life, to playing ball with your dad, you come from great people. So thank you for making the time. I do plan on getting to Brigantine, but before we let you go, I mentioned that there's a speaking career in you. We end all our shows with our guests giving us a 30-second keynote, a small mini keynote, words for us to think about the rest of the day and the rest of the year. So I'm gonna get the mic ready for you. Mic check, ask you to look in a little bit. Speak to everyone nice and clear. What words, Jim Develin, 3-time Super Bowl champion, what words do you have for our audience members?
So my words of wisdom here, my little keynote, so to speak, it would be really just have the audacity, have the mental toughness to go through the hardships and to go after the things that you truly want in life, because it's just, you got to go through the hard things to get the things that are worth it in life. And if you have the willingness and the desire to do those things, man, the rewards are incredible. They're incredible on not only what you get from it, but then the mental state of going after something and believing in yourself and doing what people said that you couldn't for years and years and years. I mean, having that, behind you and fueling you, it's just an incredible thing. So I just can't say enough about going after your dreams and having the toughness to just kind of get through it, man, because it's all really up here. Our bodies are so capable of doing whatever we want to do. And really you just kind of have to mentally grasp it, have the imagination to see yourself there before it's even coming to fruition. And so I just say, go after it, man. Go after it.
Love it. He could go all the way. Touchdown, Develin. Listen, everyone, thank you for joining us. I told you, another informational and transformational session. Episode is what we do here on the Dr. James Show. We'll see you back next time. James Develin, again, thank you so much for bringing your wisdom, your Super Bowl trophies, your life story to the show. And like I always say, you've just been Jim-pacted. See you later.